Hello everyone, welcome to Red Legs Review. I'm Jack Ward along with Dan Howard, and we're going to bring you a weekly review of the Cincinnati Reds. Hey Dan, how you doing?
Oh, doing just fine, Jack. A little sore in the rear end from the whooping the Reds took over the past week. You know what a difference a week makes. Last week we were talking about how the Reds were 2 pitches away from being 7-0, and now they're 6-7, and well, battling for last place in the National League Central with the beloved Milwaukee Brewers.
Well, those things happen, and we almost drank the Kool-Aid, but we kept saying, they're playing the Phillies, and they did a good job against the Pirates. But I'll tell you something, Dan. The Reds didn't pass the eye test against the Cubs. The Cubs just literally whipped the Reds good.
Yeah, it was a good little beating.
In every way, the Reds had no shot against the Cubs. Really, they had no shot. And that's
we'll find out this. We'll find out this week. The Reds and Cubs play at Great American Ballpark. Hopefully, that the Reds will improve on what they did, from last week. Now, Monday night's game was pretty good, except for the pitch that JJ Hoover did. But then the rest of the season, or the rest of the series, wasn't too good.
Well, in my article, I got into the woeful performance by Hoover and Jumbo Diaz, which continued last night against the Rockies. Now, to Jumbo's credit, did you see the pitch that guy hit from the Rockies last night for the 3-run bomb in the 8th inning? Off his ankle tops. I mean,
let me put it to you like this. Well, it wasn't the pitch that it was the pitch that Ollendorf threw to the Story. Is that his name, Trevor Story?
Yeah, Trevor Story.
If I would have seen more pitches like that when I played baseball, my career may have been a little bit different. I'd probably be retired right now on some deserted island in the middle of the Pacific Ocean, other than being a working class stiff.
Dan,
because that pitch was right there. That's right where I loved him, right at the knees.
Do you understand?
Down the middle of the plate.
Ollendorf threw it at 94 miles an hour. Do you understand that you have been in the dugout sucking your thumb and calling for mommy? We never saw 94 miles per hour.
We'll put 2 pitches together, we probably did.
But anyway, that was a bad pitch.
I got to say this much. One thing, Jack. I did face a play against the person who did go on in the major leagues.
You did.
Willie Blair.
You did. Willie Blair.
And, I timed him just right. One pitch, I fouled one straight back, and it intimidated him so much he walked me the next 2 pitches. He just couldn't take it, because I had him. Unfortunately, I was just a tad bit early on it, and fouled the ball straight back. And the rest is history. He goes on to college and becomes a Major League Baseball player who served up Mark McGwire's 50th home run in 1998. Goes and fleeces the Arizona Diamondbacks for about $10 million in 1998. And by the All-Star break, he's traded to the Mets. Yeah. And that's where he was pitching that's who he was pitching for when he gave up number 50 to Mark McGwire.
Yeah, it was about
little useless trivia there.
It was about $27 million actually he got from the.
Was it 27?
Yeah, he got the.
Wow.
He had 16 and he won 16 for the Tigers. And
had a great season in '97, and the Tigers let him go in the. I'm sorry, I don't mean to talk over you, but the Tigers let him go to the expansion draft, and the Diamondbacks picked him up.
Yeah.
Jerry D'Angelo had a lot of money then.
Well, he was the hot commodity at that time, and you got to.
Yes,
he picked a great time.
I'm very proud of him. I'm very proud of him.
He picked a great time to have a career year. But we want to get back to the Reds, and the Reds have lost 6 out of 7 now. Their only win since we last talked to you was a 9-8 victory against the Cardinals, which they had 9 doubles. Is that a club record or close to it or something?
That tied a club record.
Tied a club record, 9 doubles. And the Reds played very well, but if not for a Jay Bruce home run in the 9th inning, JJ Hoover would have had another blown save.
Okay, Jack, I got a question for you.
All right.
How is JJ Hoover like a vacuum cleaner?
He sucks.
They both suck.
Yeah. Now, we can't disparage on JJ. I think he's going to be okay. He's going to
I
have.
think so too.
He's going to be. He's going to have to be. I mean, I don't see anybody
Well,
else on the
I mean,
horizon.
vacuum cleaner, Hoover, you know, so long. It just, just seemed like it was perfect.
Well, it's perfect, but
Was
it's Hoover's been around for 3 years now. We've used that many times. You're a little bit behind the times.
I
man.
know. Oh, and I want to bring up some old business from last week.
Old business.
I erroneously said that Alan Melville.
Dan, you're gone. Hello,
My
Dan.
Twitter account figuratively melted down last Wednesday. Figuratively, of course, from all the people correcting me on that.
On what?
Which was a grand total of none. But I wanted to make it. I wanted to set the record straight in case somebody, and we do have quite a few listeners, and I didn't mention my Twitter account at DeHermit16. That is at DeHermit16, and but I just wanted to make it right for all those people who, family members of Alan Melvin, might be out there listening to this program.
Well, that's fine. We lost half of you on that. You're going in and out on your. We're on FaceTime, and you're not. You're doing no face and not much time.
Not much time. Okay. Is this?
What?
Is this sounding any better?
Yeah, you sound better, but you just completely dropped off a second ago.
Oh, sorry about that.
I mean, I don't think anybody really minds. Okay, tonight. Well, let's talk about the series against the Cardinals. The Reds 1-1. They didn't beat the Cubs. The road trip, they go 1-5, and as we have said, that was the Cubs and Cardinals. We knew it was going to be a tough 6-game road trip, and what's disappointing is the Reds were only had a chance to win probably the last 2 games, maybe game 1, but they had a real shot in Saturday's and Sunday's games.
Yes, they did. They played the Cardinals really tough.
Except for
they beat Adam Wainwright.
Except for Friday night. Yeah, they beat Adam Wainwright. Friday night they got shellacked 14-3. What did you think of John Muscott on Sunday?
I thought he looked good. I thought he looked really good. I think the future looks bright for these Reds pitchers.
Well, the thing is, when's the last time a Reds pitcher pitched more than 5 innings?
Wow, that's a good one.
Well, it wasn't. It hasn't been in the last 7 games.
This year.
It hasn't been in the last 7. Iglesias has gone 6 twice.
Finnegan went 6 1/3 last Monday.
Yeah, he's got the longest outing of the year. Iglesias has pitched 6 innings twice. His first 2 starts. But the Reds are getting their pitch count up. I mean, you've got to throw strikes. You've got to keep your pitch count up. And let me say something about the Cubs. The Cubs, if that's the way we're going to play baseball and win, is to take pitches 1/4 of an inch outside and 1/8 of an inch high, and the umpire call them a ball, baseball is going to be nobody's going to be watching it. If we're going to watch Walk Fest, I mean, the Reds walked 7 at least twice in that series against the Cubs, and pitches that were not.
That's what I brought up. That's what I brought up last Monday or last Tuesday at the podcast. Is that the pitches that were called balls on the Cubs were called strikes against the Reds? I think the Reds got squeezed in that series against the Cubs. I really believe they got squeezed.
Well, it's not that; it's that the Cubs know how to play the game. I mean, if that's the way we're going to play the game,
they have a good understanding of the strike zone. I'll give them that, and they're patient at the plate, just like the '98 Yankees were. The Yankee teams under Joe Torre, they had a reputation of having patience at the plate. And that's something I wish the Reds would have a little more of, patience at the plate, even though Eugenio Suarez has been showing some patience. Zach Cozart has. But I really, really believe, and you look at some of the replays from the games last week, pitches that were strikes on Reds hitters were balls on Cubs hitters, and they were almost there couldn't have been a 16th of an inch difference between the two.
Well, there gives you reputation. I just hate that kind of baseball. I hate standing there and waiting for a walk when you got pitches that are hittable. I mean, if we're doing all this stuff to make baseball faster, to quicken up the pace, and then we have hitters like the Cubs who just stand there. I mean, and win. I mean, if that's like the Oakland A's that were successful at it, Billy Ball, in the late 90s and early 2000s, where they just stood there and took pitches, and I think that just sets baseball back. Give me how many seasons did Hank Aaron walk 100 times? How many seasons did Willie Mays walk 100 times? These guys hit the ball. I mean, I'm not saying it's wrong to walk 100 times if they're not pitching to you, but to take a pitch that's a quarter of an inch outside and to just stand there and let the umpire, whether he's going to call it a ball or a strike, decide the game, I just think that's just setting baseball back. I think we need to. Baseball's a game where the pitch is thrown, the ball is hit. If the umpires would call the strike zone like it's supposed to be, I just think it's just the most boring type of baseball is to sit there and watch pitchers throw four balls. I mean, I thought the pitcher that really got squeezed against the Cardinals was the kid who made his debut. I don't know if that was his second start, but it was his first home start. What was the kid's name for the Reds? And he gave up 7 runs in 3 innings of work, and he was in front of his hometown fans, 40-some family members in attendance. And his first 2 batters he walked, and I'm telling you, he didn't miss by much. It was just ridiculous. The Cardinals are the same way. They stand there, and of course, if the umpires aren't going to call it, I just think it sets baseball back. I think umpires have to start calling. Nothing. They say there's no such thing as the black of the plate anymore. It's all the white part of the plate. When we were growing up, they said that was right on the black. That was called a strike.
Right.
Maybe they should expand the plate, make it wider. I don't know, but to me, it's just not. I don't hate to see the Reds start standing there and taking it. Did the Big Red Machine lead the league in walks? We have to look that up, but I doubt it. They hit the lead league in hitting. What would Pete Rose do? How many times did Pete Rose walk 100 times in a season? Maybe 2 or 3. I mean, Pete Rose walked a lot. We remember that because he ran like a 100-yard dash or a 90-foot dash down to first base.
Yeah, it was Tim Melville that was the starting pitcher.
Tim Melville, poor guy. I mean, I just thought he just barely was missing. And then once that happens, then he had to come over the plate to the big guy for the Cardinals, the number 3 hitter. What's his name? Been there for years. And then he hits a 3-run
Holiday.
Holiday hits a 3-run homer, and that's the ball game. I mean, that's just, I don't know. It's just very frustrating.
That was a wonderful rant there, Jack, and I agree with everything you said. There's one point I want to make from all that, what you're saying.
Because you used to take walks when you were in high school.
During Hank Aaron's era, Willie Mays, pitchers knew how to pitch. You got kids up there now, they're just humping it up there at 95 miles an hour. You don't know where the ball's going.
Yeah.
But you had, in that day, you had Drysdale, you had Koufax, you had Gibson. They knew how to pitch and how to pitch effectively. And they were going to, well, I'm looking at Hank Aaron's stats. In my opinion, Hank Aaron is the greatest hitter of all time.
How many times did he walk 100 times in a season?
That would be none.
None.
The most walks was 92 in 1972.
How many times did he strike out 100 times in a season?
How many times did he strike out 100 times?
None.
That would be none.
You see, you know what a hitter is when a major league hit. The average for every major leaguer is 285 when they hit the ball in play. Did you realize that? When you put the ball in play, you will hit 285 at the worst. I mean, 285 if you put the ball in play. If you strike out, what are you going to hit? 0.
That would be none.
Hank Aaron, I think, no doubt, he and Willie Mays are the 2 greatest players of all time.
If you take away Hank Aaron's
but of course,
755 home runs, he still has 3,000 hits. Babe Ruth can't say that.
Nope. 2,397 runs batted in, right?
Barry Bonds can't say that. That's why I believe Hank Aaron is the greatest hitter of all time. Stan Musial can't say that. Pete Rose can't say that. You take away, yes, he hit for power. In fact, one time I remember a former Dodger pitcher. I can't remember who it was, but they were going over some. They were playing the Braves, and they were doing a scouting report on all the players on the Braves. And they come down to Hank Aaron, and one of the pitchers said, "Make sure nobody's on base when he hits it out."
Well, again,
that's the
though,
kind of respect that man had.
He didn't have to face a seventh-inning specialist, an eighth-inning specialist, a ninth-inning specialist like today. And granted, the kids do throw a lot harder today, and I believe it is tougher to hit today. I'm not saying that Hank Aaron wouldn't have success, but it is a different...
I think Hank Aaron would hit 300.
Yeah.
I really do. I think he would be a 300 hitter today.
But would he have the same kind of success? We'll never know. That's something we could debate all day. What about Straley for the Reds? A Marshall grad hit, I don't know if he is a graduate, but a Marshall player. Dan Straley went 5 strong innings yesterday, 1-run, 2-hit baseball. Did a great job.
That was his longest outing since the 8th of July of last year. And he made that was his first start since August 4th of 2015. He struck out the side in the top of the 4th inning. And it's the first time he struck out the side since April 26, 2014 against Houston. And, last year was the first time, speaking of Houston, last year was the first time in over 50 years that Cincinnati had not played a team from Houston.
Well,
now that Houston's moved to the American League Central.
Well, that falls into the who cares category. Okay.
That's right.
Reds,
Pete Rose walked 106 times in 1974.
That was his top.
That was his top.
Only time he ever did.
And Pete Rose never struck out. Never struck out more than 76 times in a season. He did that twice, in 1965 and in 1968.
I just think you gotta, if you put the ball in play, like I said, you hit 285. That's the average for all hitters putting the ball in play, 285. That's a pretty good bet if you make contact.
You've got a really good chance of getting on base when you put the ball in play. Than you do if you stand there and take 3 strikes.
But now pitchers, they want to bore the ball inside on you with a cutter. The cutter may have existed back then. Maybe they called it a slider or a slurve, as some used to call it. But the cutter is a new pitch. It's very devastating. The splitter was around. It came around in the late 70s with Bruce Sutter. He was the first person to throw a splitter. That's been a devastating pitch. But aside from that, really much hasn't changed, except pitchers threw more curveballs then. And the reason pitchers threw more curveballs then was the slider was so devastating to the elbow. And pitchers were taught to throw the curveball instead of the slider. But today, everything has to be. You don't have many really good curveball pitchers, and that's still Sandy Koufax is in the Hall of Fame, not for his fastball, but for his devastating curve. And look at Kershaw's curveball. It is amazing. It is off the table, good, and that's why Kershaw.
I mean, they call it 12 to 6, and that's the reason. It starts at 12 o'clock, and by the time it gets to the batter or it gets past home plate, it's down to 6 o'clock. It's rolling across the plate.
Well, it's still the most difficult pitch to hit is the breaking pitch, unless you hang it over the middle of the plate with a spin that's about half of what it ought to be. But you hang one over the middle of the plate.
Which is what the Reds have been good at in the last for the last week. They've been hanging them. Well, now, the other teams have been banging them.
Jumbo the pitch was around the guy's ankles last night. I can't really blame Jumbo for that. It was the first pitch as he came out of the bullpen, and the guy golfs it out. And you know something?
Right.
Hats off to him. Somebody actually swung at a pitch that was out of the strike zone. The ball can be hit out of the strike zone. It doesn't have to be right down the middle of the plate or on the plate. It can be hit and hit well. And that was an example of it last night. Hey, go up there hacking. I mean, have an idea that, the pitcher might throw you a breaking ball here, or he's going to start me off with a fastball. I'm going to be sitting dead red. And that's what the guy did last night for the Rockies, and so did Trevor Story. He sat dead red and got one.
Oh, he was sitting on that pitch.
And one right over the middle of the plate.
You could see his eyes. His eyes got as big as saucers.
But the Reds had opportunities against the guy from the Rockies. Who was that last night? First time he'd pitched more than 4 innings in a start was last
Jordan
night.
Lyles.
Jordan Lyles pitched a great ball game, or was it just the Reds just didn't have it last night? I don't know. It seemed to me like he was around the plate, but the Reds just couldn't hit it. They pounded the ball to the shortstop and second baseman quite a bit, which means they were just missing the pitches. You hit the ball to short and second pretty hard, that means you're just missing it. So I don't know if that's more Lyles' ability or the Reds' just bad luck last night. And you're going to have those games.
Some more useless trivia. Story. He 8 home runs in his first 13 games in the major leagues. That's 8 home runs in 13 games. And he joins 2 other players. Well, actually, he's the first player to do that in 13 games. But Carlos Delgado did it in his first 7 games, beginning in October of '93, I guess the end of the '93 season, and into the beginning of the 1994 season. And a fellow by the name of Dino Restelli did it in June of 1949.
Old Dino.
Yeah, Dino Restelli.
Yeah.
I have no clue who he played for.
We're talking about him today, so...
Yes, we're talking about him today.
That's something that is not many players even get talked about in their careers. But anyway,
he played for the Pirates.
Stevenson,
the Pittsburgh Pirates.
Stevenson's pitching tonight for the Reds. I'm anxious to see how he fares. He pitched pretty well in his first outing, 5 innings, gave up 4 runs. Was that his total?
And the $106 million man is soon to be coming back, Homer Bailey. He was pitching. I think he did some light work yesterday in the bullpen. Did a bullpen session yesterday, and I believe they're talking like he may be going to do about 3 minor league assignments. Probably going to start him out in Single A and then work his way up, and then maybe by the 1st or the middle of May he'll be back with the big club.
Well, we're looking forward to having Homer, and I think that might solidify the. And Desclafani's not too far behind him.
Desclafani, there was an update today about Desclafani.
Yeah, he's pain-free after his latest rehab session, so he's not too far away.
Anthony Desclafani, through live batting practice a few days ago, had a 35-pitch bullpen session Friday at Busch Stadium, and he pitched did a 40-pitch simulated game at Great American Ballpark yesterday. So he may be close to coming back.
Yeah. Well, the Reds need they got to get somebody that can give them 6 innings or 7 innings. And these young guys, just like they did last year, they throw so many pitches. Now, I'm not saying throw the ball down the middle. I'm saying put the ball over the plate. We were taught. I was around the Morehead State University program, tried out 2 years, and hung around the program some. And I remember that great Coach Sonny Allen, who coached at Morehead for many years. He taught his pitchers up and in, low and away. And it's pretty simple. We were taught to have the catcher line up center of the plate, and you aim for his, if it's a right-handed batter, you aim for his upper left shoulder. And you aim for his, that's up and away. And then you aim for his left knee, low and away. The catcher did not move his glove. That's how we were taught to pitch. And that is, I see nobody doing that today. And he turned out a couple of major league pitchers. And
Right.
Morehead's had some major league pitchers. But,
well, I think Willie Blair, who I mentioned earlier, I think he went to Morehead State University.
Yeah.
I don't think he played for the same coach that was there when you was there. Now, just to give you a little background information on Jack Ward here. He goes to Morehead State about the same time a fellow by the name of Phil Simms goes to school there.
Yep.
And about 100 miles to the southwest, at a little school, I believe Eastern Kentucky University, there was some man by the name of Dan Patrick went to school there. correct?
Yes.
Around the same time you was at Moorhead.
Yeah, Dan played for Eastern basketball as a freshman. Now, I know I've seen him play. I don't remember him, of course. But I went to every basketball game, and I'm sure I saw Dan play or either ride the pine. I don't know what he was doing at that time, but yeah. So Phil Simms is a great guy, great basketball player.
And we're talking about old Valley Conference basketball, right?
Yeah.
Middle Tennessee State had Fly Williams.
Austin P.
I'm sorry.
Austin P.
Austin P had Fly Williams. Fly's open. Let's go P.
Well, I wasn't at school at that time. That was 72, I believe. And I went to that game when they played Moorhead, and they had all the fans at Moorhead's little Weatherby gym, said about 5,000. They were right on top of you. Everybody had fly swatters. Fly. And Moorhead beat Austin P. was a nationally ranked team at that time.
You remember Eastern Kentucky back? I'm talking about minor league baseball when the Paintsville Yankees came to fruition back in '78 or the '79. It was Paintsville Highlanders in '78, and Darryl Strawberry played for Kingsport.
I remember him.
The Kingsport Mets,
Yep.
and I believe that when he came to play in Paintsville, that everybody in the stands got like strawberries.
Yeah, strawberry night.
And I remember, and you remember watching Greg Maddox pitch. He pitched for the Pikeville Bears.
Pikeville Cubs.
Pikeville Cubs, that's right.
And I interviewed Greg Gagne, who played for the Twins organization. It was in that rookie league. Appleton. Was it Appleton? I don't remember who it was. But anyway, Greg Gagne, a guy who pitched 21 years in the major league and made them final out for the Mets in the World Series, played for Paintsville. Who was that guy? Anyway.
And what does this have to do with the Cincinnati Reds? Well, the last Reds World Series most valuable player, Jose Rio, pitched for the Paintsville Yankees.
Yeah.
I think back in '81 or '82.
Yeah.
Now, I remember him. And there's a fellow now who's a broadcaster. He's been on ESPN, but he's a broadcaster now for the Miami Marlins radio network, Orestes de Estrada. I watched his first professional game at Paintsville.
Well.
So there's a storied history for baseball in Eastern Kentucky, and even going back to the 30s and 40s when a fellow by the name of Stan Musial played in a little mining camp town called Beauty, Kentucky. And he played for Williamson, West Virginia. I think they had a minor league team.
Yeah. And
he came to Beauty, Kentucky, little old place, barely on the map. And he played a baseball game there in an old coal camp town in Eastern Kentucky.
Yeah, I've heard that story. Well, anyway, enough reminiscing. Reds fans.
That's right.
Are the Reds going to turn it around? You can't say we. Marty Brenneman says don't say we because we don't play. They play. We root for them. So are we going to do better?
I think, my opinion about that, if I'm going to a game and I pay money and I've invested into the team, then part of the money that I have earned, that I have paid to watch this team, then I have an invested interest in this team. So in a way, I'm part owner of that team. So yeah, I guess I could say we.
If Marty Brenneman says they, it's they. You don't argue.
Well, that's true. That's true. You had an encounter with Mr. Brenneman once.
Marty Brenneman is the nicest fella. He is a wonderful man. I mean, I've met him on 2 occasions, and he's treated me like I was his long-lost friend. And he is he's a wonderful man.
I've never had the pleasure of meeting him.
I would never.
I hope to someday.
He's the greatest of all time. That's all I can say. I love his honesty, love his wit, love the way he calls the game. And
yes,
Marty's the best, and he is a good man.
And I bet there's probably not very many people who can remember the last person before Marty Brenneman, who went on to kind of a decent career himself. And that would be none other than Al Michaels.
Al Michaels. Who was the one before Al Michaels?
Wade Hoyt.
Nope.
It wasn't Wade Hoyt?
Nope.
Wayne Hoyt did some of the games.
Yeah, for a long time. Jim McIntyre.
Jim McIntyre, yeah.
And Joe Nuxall. That's who I grew up with. Jim McIntyre and Joe Nuxall.
I remember Marty's first game back in 1974. And, I do remember listening to Al Michaels in the 73 season, toward the end of the 73 season, especially his call of Dave Concepcion's injury, which was just a horrific injury when he was sliding in the second base. I think it was second.
And third base, and the base came up.
What's that?
Third base, and the base came up. And
and didn't his cleat catch or something?
Yeah, something like that.
Tore his ankle up. He never had the speed, but he always had the ability. I mean, and Dave Concepcion, in my opinion, is a Hall of Famer and should be in the Hall of Fame.
He played shortstop for 19 years in the major leagues and hit 260 or above. What was his career average, 267 or something?
Yeah, something like that.
There's already 3 or 4 in the Hall of Fame with those numbers. He should be in the Hall of Fame. And he was a winner.
Yeah, two World Championships. 4 World Series appearances. 3 World Series. 72, 75, and 76.
He was on the 70 team also.
Oh, that's right. He was on the 70 team. So he's 4 World Series.
Yeah.
Revolutionized the problem with Concepcion was Ozzie Smith. Ozzie Smith came along about the time that Concepcion was slowly declining. And, they said Ozzie revolutionized the position. No, Dave Concepcion revolutionized the position. I can just picture in my mind, I could see him bouncing the ball to first base because he took advantage of the AstroTurf there at Riverfront Stadium. He should, and again, to you Cub fans out there that's going to be railing on me and probably going to be throwing stuff at this podcast, at this whatever instrument you're listening to this on. If Ryan Sandberg can be in the Hall of Fame, Dave Concepcion certainly deserves a Hall of Fame shot.
You're right. Hey, Dan, we're out of time.
It's been fun, Jack.
Well,
been real fun.
There is the music. So it's been great. Hope you've enjoyed our podcast this week. Hopefully we'll be back next week, Dan, with some more Reds victories. They got a big series with the Cubs coming up this weekend, and we hope to report some good news next week. Dan,
I'd like to see a 5-2 homestand this week.
I would too. Well, that's all the time we have, Dan. I'll see you next week.
All right, Jack.
This has been Red Legs Review Podcast with Jack Ward and Dan Howard.